if I was talking to someone and they were thinking about getting tested, I would offer to go with them for one and hold their hand, and I would explain to them that they really need to be tested, because if you're a sexual being, you need to be tested. They talk about all the risk and the risk factors, and I think that's the biggest risk factor right there, being a sexual person. If it's a woman, I'm like, yes, here's my number, here's my card, call me, I will meet you halfway. I can talk, I can walk and talk to you through this, and I think it's a wonderful thing. I think it's important to get tested, and for my face to be there, first of all, as a positive woman, to let you know, first of all, you're not alone, and this is not a death sentence, and to encourage her, and walk her through some of what she's going to feel, because I've been there, so I can kind of walk her through some of what she's feeling.
Not to be afraid, and to make sure that if they're going to be tested, to make sure that they have someone that they can lean on for support. And do not be afraid to make sure that they ask the critical questions. Don't go in and get an HIV test and expect to just walk back out the door without getting the support that's needed, just in case it comes back positive. But if the test comes back negative, to get the necessary information that they need to stay negative.
Well, I've said this before to some people, that if you're taking risks, you need to make sure that you don't go too far into them, and that you try to, like, if you do take a risk, test yourself afterwards, because if not, you won't be very happy when they tell you, like, surprisingly. It's not very fun being told surprisingly.
I would encourage them to go get tested for HIV, because if they have any risky, especially if it's any risky behavior that they had in the past, I would advise them to go get HIV tested and also go with them.
The advice that I would give to someone who was thinking about testing would be that you should do it, because there's two important reasons. One, if you test and you test HIV negative, then you know that you need to get on some type of program to make sure that you stay HIV negative. That's either using condoms or having your partner checked out, or you and your partner agreeing to go get tested before you start having any type of unprotected sex. So that's what I would say for you, for one reason, for you to get tested. And for the other reason, you need to know your status, because if you are in fact HIV positive, then you need to get in some type of care to get evaluated, to know where you are in terms of being HIV positive, because the sooner you know, the better off you'll be, because you can live with this illness. So if I was trying to give advice to people who've never been tested, that's what I would say. I would also say that until you get tested, you don't know if you're positive or negative. So you can't actually criticize other people because you don't know your status. And if you might, in fact, be positive. So the person that you're talking about may be you.
If you're thinking about getting tested, I say do it. If you love yourself, protect yourself. And many ways to protect yourself starts off with getting tested. And then, once you know your result, protect yourself. But do it. It's If not, I mean, there's a lot of fear about it, and I understand there are many different ways to do it. There's an oral test, there's the blood test, there's many ways to do it. The easy ways are the oral test. Simple, swab of the mouth, and you're done. You might get your results a little longer than if you just get a prick on your finger from the blood and get your test done. But if you can get your test, get tested, because it's better to know than to not know, because not knowing could put you at risk for many, many different things.
For someone that's never been tested but is considering getting tested, I would really encourage them to know what their risk factors are for HIV and AIDS transmission, and what really puts them at risk, and how important it is for them just to know that this is just not my issue, that it's a health issue across the board, and that it's important that you know what your status is.
How painless it is. The greatest pain they will feel is not knowing. That's the hard part. Just taking the courage to go. So a lot of time people, when they want to be tested and they haven't been tested, and they're afraid of being tested. First of all, they're afraid of being positive, especially if they know what their health, their risky behavior has been, or what their behavior has been in the past. I tell them that it's just a swab in the mouth. It's painless. And if you're going to choose to get oral quick, it's quick. You can have your test results that day. There's no blood. And if you need counseling, and if there's an off chance that you test preliminary positive, we'll do a confirmatory test to prove that these whatever preliminary results we give you are just that preliminary. It's not cut in stone. And then I would tell people, once you're tested, to please do yourself a favor. Use universal precaution and just assume that everybody you come in contact with is positive, because you never know. There's no face taste. It looks like me, it looks like you.
I would tell them, get tested, because it's better to know than not to know.
What would I say to someone who's getting tested, who's thinking about getting tested? If you're thinking about getting tested, do it. The only way to find out if you're infected is to be tested. That's my advice. I do HIV testing, and my advice is get tested. If there's any risky behaviors, the condom broke, it didn't put it on because whatever reason, getting tested will help you to live a better life.
What would I say to someone thinking about getting tested? By all means, get tested. I tell women all the time, get tested, because what you don't know can hurt you. I have a lot of women that come to me, though, they are afraid to get tested because of the way the insurance system is right now. Because they feel like if they find out that they have a pre-existing illness and they have to change jobs, they cannot get health care, which I cannot get health care, because they always say you have a pre-existing illness and we won't take you. So I can understand the fear that a lot of women have, but I still tell them you still need to get tested to know your status, to be able to take care of yourself.
Ooh, honey, go get the test. Go and take that test. That test will more than likely save your life.